Semiconductors, aerospace, automotive, industrial machineries, energy, medical devices. These are not ordinary markets. They're industrial ecosystems built over decades of engineering excellence, manufacturing capability, supplier relationships, and technological evolution. Silk Route of Systems exists because these industries deserve a very different conversation. They're very specific, very specialized, and yet they need a generalist within that ecosystem to help them understand how different domains actually should communicate with one another. The life of an executive in these industries, they revolve around very similar questions, such as, are we pursuing the right market? Are we pursuing it through the right suppliers? Is our organization capable of supporting this strategy? Are we playing it too safe, too risky? What do we need to keep up with changing market demands? Should we redesign our supplier base? Are we betting on the right technology? Which capability is missing? Why is execution slower than strategy? There are 5 layers of management, yet the teams cannot deliver on time. Why? What needs to change? How do I make sure that my vision for the organization is translated into technical goals and ultimately delivered by the right people? How do I predict future delivery capability and plan the next round of hiring using today's organizational performance? For capital equipment industries such as semiconductors, aerospace, energy, and automotive, the answers to these questions are rarely straightforward. Unlike direct consumer markets, these organizations operate through deeply interconnected engineering, manufacturing, and supply chain ecosystems. Even the most experienced executives rarely have complete visibility of their own organizations. In Europe particularly, technical systems often run on decades of engineering legacy created by people who may or may no longer work within the organization, while the management teams and many technical specialists are comparatively new. Similar patterns can be seen across the United States, the Middle East, and India. In Far East Asian organizations, executives inherit long-established decision-making traditions from previous leadership and board of advisors. Their decisions often carry enormous responsibility because ultimately the final decision rests on them. Across many cultures involved in designing, developing, manufacturing, and supplying capital equipment, one need remains remarkably consistent. Every executive benefits from having an independent strategic advisor who can objectively examine past decisions, evaluate the current organization, and help shape future strategy through a truly holistic perspective. The consultation services you receive are not merely data analysis exercises or software tool recommendations. You receive answers to the questions that keep you awake at night. You receive strategic liaison support when your organization needs a supply chain redesign. You receive an enterprise architecture roadmap that aligns engineering, manufacturing, procurement, finance, IT, and commercial functions across the same strategic objectives. You receive a process optimization roadmap that identifies where execution is creating unnecessary cost, delays, or complexity. Each engagement is different because every organization reaches a different point in its evolution. The recommendations depend entirely on what your organization truly needs and how committed you are to solving the underlying challenges rather than treating their symptoms. So to summarize the services provided by Silk Route of Systems, it is important to understand that we are not a consultancy that sells pre-developed frameworks or standardized products. My partner, whom you will not see in these videos, and we are deeply compassionate leaders within our respective industries. I have worked across the semiconductor industry, the aerospace, medical device, and energy industries, while also consulting within the automotive, semiconductor, and energy sectors. My partner is an expert in medical informatics and has consulted for major government organizations and hospitals throughout the Netherlands. Together, we have lived and breathed engineering, technology, and data. We have developed products, created frameworks, led teams, and challenged the status quo from deep within multinational organizations. It is therefore safe to assume that our consulting style is anything but superficial. Our deliverables are never just a PowerPoint. The presentation is merely an evidence of the thinking that has already taken place. We first understand your organization by listening to your story, the realities experienced by manufacturing, engineering, supply chain, finance, and IT. Having once been employees ourselves, we understand how organizations actually function beneath the executive layer. That perspective allows us to deliver genuine transformation rather than cosmetic change. Every recommendation we make is connected directly to business outcomes. We help you understand how each step contributes towards increased profitability, stronger organizational capability, and sustainable long-term growth without workforce reduction or exposing your organization to any reputational risk. The objective is collective organizational development through the removal of structural silos. One of the primary reasons why transformation programs and new IT systems actually fail is because departments optimize locally while the organization suffers globally. Engineering fights engineering's battle, manufacturing fights manufacturing's battle, procurement fights procurement's battle. Finance fights finance battle. Each department works hard to demonstrate that it has fulfilled its own responsibilities, while the organization as a whole slowly loses alignment. Silk Route of Systems come in as the connector, not simply by implementing IT tools or giving trainings on collaboration. We are far away from all of that. We act as ground-level reformer, a policy enhancer, an enterprise architect, and above all, a trusted ally to executive leadership within capital equipment industries. If any of the questions we began with in the beginning of this video, if any of these questions resonate with you and they continue to appear in your executive meetings, there's already enough complexity to justify an independent architectural perspective. You can begin simply by watching the Silk Route of Systems web series. The episodes gradually build a complete picture, starting with industry knowledge, followed by your organization's position within the industry, the competitive and technological threats shaping the market today, and finally, the strategic partnerships, enterprise reforms, and supply chain transformations that is very, very specific and particular to your market and your industry and actually your company. We will show you all of that in the web series. Most consultancies start in the boardroom and work downwards. We begin where the organization actually works: engineering, manufacturing, procurement, supply chain, quality, finance, IT. Only then do we connect those realities back to executive strategy. We speak from the perspective of people who have witnessed firsthand how misalignment between departments delay programs, inflates costs, degrades product quality, and ultimately limits organizational growth. Furthermore, if your organization is embarking on the development of a new machine, or perhaps you want to make changes in the production line, there are very few consultancies positioned to build an end-to-end strategic roadmap from research and development all the way to customer delivery. Our foundation is deeply technical, deeply scientific, and deeply industrial. The foundation allows us to understand not only how products are engineered, but also how organizations surround those products and can be designed to create sustainable profitability for years to come. Companies rarely struggle because their people lack competence. They struggle because knowledge remains fragmented across departments, suppliers, technologies, and leadership layers. Silk Route of Systems exist to reconnect those fragments into one coherent operating system, allowing strategy, engineering, manufacturing, and commercial execution to move together. And that is what we do. That is where lasting competitive advantage is built. Thank you for watching. Please write to me at prachurya.b@outlook.com. And please keep watching our videos. Thank you for your time.